All right, think about this. Every single time you unlock your phone, you are stepping right into a highly engineered, multi-billion-dollar battlefield. And the prize? It's your attention. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are exposing a genuinely chilling reality. We're going to see how modern digital interfaces have mutated from simple tools into weaponized systems designed to literally farm human attention. We're going to decode the dark engineering behind the screen and uncover the very real, hidden dangers of infinite scrolling. So, ask yourself, are your apps just utilities, or are they actual behavioral managers? We used to think of apps as basic tools, right? Like a calculator or a digital map. You open it, you use it, you put it down. But the reality of our digital environment today is vastly different. These platforms are highly sophisticated behavioral managers. They are specifically engineered to manipulate human psychology, keeping us hooked for as long as humanly possible just to maximize their monetization. You aren't just using an app anymore. The app is managing your behavior. So how did we get here? Well, the trap was essentially set back in 2006. That's the year the infinite scroll was invented. By completely eliminating the natural friction of the old next page button, software fundamentally shifted from being a simple utility to a behavioral trap. Fast forward to 2020, and the average user was spending over 3 hours every single day just staring into a glowing rectangle, scrolling. And now, as we approach 2026, we are seeing a massive global push for platform regulation, simply because the sheer scale of this addiction has become absolutely undeniable. Part 1. The architecture of addiction. It all boils down to one massive psychological trick: predictable versus unpredictable rewards. Think about it. If you knew exactly what the next video or post was going to be, you'd get bored and close the app immediately. But the feed is a complete mystery. This deliberate unpredictability completely hijacks your brain's mesolimbic dopamine pathway. Your brain actually releases massive dopamine spikes in anticipation of a potential reward, not just when you finally get it. It's the seeking that keeps you hooked. In psychology, they call this variable ratio reinforcement, which is really just a fancy way of saying it's the exact same behavioral mechanism used by casino slot machines. Because there are zero natural stopping cues, no page breaks, no loading pauses, your prefrontal cortex, which is the rational decision-making part of your brain, basically just goes offline. Your brain treats the infinite scroll as a continuous, never-ending open loop, resulting in compulsive, endless dopamine scrolling. Google whistleblower Tristan Harris put it pretty bluntly. He said, "Algorithms are big tobacco for our brains." And look, this isn't an accident. The attention economy is an entire industry that deliberately exploits human evolutionary vulnerabilities for profit, in the exact same way the tobacco industry exploited our physical vulnerabilities. Behind all those bright colors on your screen is a cold, calculated economic model. Platforms are actively tuning their algorithmic dials, specifically a variable that literally represents the aggressiveness of addiction design. They are mathematically balancing the actual value you get from the content against how aggressively they can hook you to maximize their own monetization. And sadly, this almost always comes at the direct expense of your well-being. Part 2. Cognitive decay and the physical toll. Because yes, this is messing with your biology. Let's start with what this does to your brain. Compulsive scrolling traps us in a constant state of continuous partial attention. Since your working memory has a strictly limited capacity, the rapid, never-ending barrage of disjointed stimuli forces your brain to constantly context switch. You're looking at a global tragedy, then suddenly a choreographed dance trend, and then a shoe ad, all in the span of maybe 10 seconds. This totally overloads your working memory and actively destroys your capacity for deep focus and comprehension. And the faster the feed moves, the harder the hit to your focus. Hyperfast platforms with infinite scrolling, like TikTok, actively reduce your sustained attention span. Then you have Instagram, which throws a constant risk of visual overload at you and moderately impacts sustained attention. Compare that to older manual navigation formats like long-form YouTube, which actually encourage sustained attention. It turns out the architecture of the app literally dictates the architecture of your thoughts. But honestly, it gets much darker. Over time, you aren't even scrolling for pleasure anymore. You actually enter a state of dorsal vagal drift, which is a mild shutdown or dissociative state. The scrolling essentially acts as a numbing mechanism. It becomes this low-effort substitute for real emotional regulation. You're just disconnected, avoiding emotional overwhelm, letting your thumb indiscriminately swipe while your nervous system effectively powers down. And your body? Yeah, it's paying a huge price too. Because of the intense visual focus, your blink rate severely drops, leading straight to chronic dry eyes and computer vision syndrome. Plus, all that blue light is absolutely devastating your melatonin production, fundamentally disrupting your sleep architecture. On top of all that, the constant barrage of emotionally charged content elevates your fight, flight, or freeze stress hormones. Your body might be sitting perfectly still on the couch, but your nervous system thinks it's running a marathon.
Part 3. Algorithmic radicalization, the massive societal fallout.
So if that's the biological damage happening to just one individual, what on earth happens when you scale this up to billions of people? Well, it starts with the echo chamber. To keep you engaged, recommender algorithms learn exactly what you like and just feed it right back to you. They create a highly insulated filter bubble that perfectly caters to your confirmation bias. By deliberately limiting your exposure to diverse perspectives, the algorithm ensures you stay comfortable, completely unchallenged, and most importantly, endlessly scrolling. But that cozy comfort quickly turns to deep polarization. Algorithms weaponize our innate negativity bias because, quite simply, outrage mathematically equals higher session duration. This creates a false consensus effect, making you believe everyone thinks exactly like you do. It drives intense in-group bias and extreme out-group hostility. We eventually stop seeing other viewpoints as merely different and start seeing them as actively dangerous. And the collateral damage to actual truth is staggering. Listen to this. False rumors are 70% more likely to be shared than the truth, and they reach audiences 6 times faster. This isn't about left-wing or right-wing politics. This is purely about an engagement-driven design that actively facilitates ideological extremes and algorithmic radicalization across the board, simply because sensationalism is what keeps the app open.
Okay, Part 4. Reclaiming your attention, escaping the trap.
You have to reintroduce friction into the system. The infinite scroll removed it. You must bring it back. Here are 4 proven behavioral nudges to break that automatic muscle memory dopamine loop. First, implement unlocking delays. Disable Face ID so you actually have to manually type a passcode. Second, activate grayscale on your display to kill that visual slot machine appeal. Third, hide your most addictive apps deep in folders. And fourth, practice sleep shielding. Charge your phone in a completely different room overnight. Make it hard to fail. But look, let's be totally clear for a second. Personal digital detoxes and sheer willpower are vital, but they are not enough. We are literally fighting supercomputers aimed directly at our brains. True change requires massive systemic regulatory reform. We need to transition from relying on personal willpower to mandating global safety by design standards, policies that outright eliminate infinite scrolling and force these platforms to prioritize actual human well-being over raw engagement metrics. I really want to leave you with one final provocative thought to chew on. When you're on these platforms, you are not the customer. You are the product. Your attention, your anxiety, and your time are exactly what is being sold. So ask yourself right now, who is really managing your behavior today? Is it you or is it the algorithm? If this explainer opened your eyes, don't stop here. Hit subscribe to Global Trends right now so we can keep decoding the hidden forces and dark engineering reshaping human behavior together. We've got plenty more urgent insights coming your way. I'll see you in the next one.